ESPN Radio 97.5 and 92.5. Welcome into the Bullpen with myself, Brian McDonald, found on the X at Sack by BMAC. Sean Mapes to the right of me from half the shows on this station can be found on X at Sean and Mapes. And, of course, our man, Johnny Belber, back behind the glass with us. Wasn't with us last week, but he is back today. You can find him on X at Third Coast Johnny. And,
welcome back, John.
Yeah, welcome back. You know what? Can we take a second before we get into we're going to get into the Astros,
yes.
But Sean pointed this out. I had let it go, but Johnny came into there today like, you know how you can tell when someone's interviewing for another job when suddenly they come in like to work and not dressed like like a schlub like I am, but are wearing like nice shoes and a button-up shirt. That's Johnny Belmer today.
Yes.
I'm trying to demand my respect.
Yeah, he's dressing for the job he wants.
That's right. That's right. I don't know what interview he's going to on a Saturday, but I'm intrigued to see if we'll have Johnny Belmer with us next week because he's clearly dressed to go places.
Or has to go to court later today.
All right. Wrong answers only. Text our HRMP listener line 713-780-3776. What charges is Johnny up for today? He's got to go to court and dress up. Odd that court is A on a Saturday, B like at 3 o'clock. But Johnny Belmer, hope you beat that rap. Sorry about that, man. All right, so Astros win a baseball game yesterday over the Angels because that's one of the few teams they can beat right now on a consistent basis. Even that is actually not all that consistent. But the two obvious stories from this game, before we get into what we have to get into as quickly as possible, the Keith Law interview that we had on the Killer Bees on Thursday and all the bombs he dropped. But the game one reaction from last night, the two takeaways, obviously, Frommer with the complete game. And Yonder Diaz, Sean, is now homered in 4 straight games, which I think if I do the math, Johnny, fact check me if I'm wrong on this. If I do the math, if you take that pace out over 162 games, that means, Sean and Johnny, Yonder Diaz will hit 162 home runs.
Yeah.
So he is in fuego, as 1990s ESPN Sports Center anchors would say.
Yeah. Thank you for the quotable.
Yeah,
from
you're welcome.
Dan Patrick.
Dan Patrick, probably. Yeah, Kenny Mayne. Yeah.
That to me is probably the biggest takeaway is Yonder Diaz staying red hot, despite
even with an
the
off
day
day
off.
in between.
Yeah, so if Yiner can be this guy for the rest of the season, A, he's going to hit like 100 home runs this year. B, the Astros
on
offense
pace, that's factually correct.
Yeah, it would hit like 90-something. But yeah, this offense can really kick into a different gear. And a lot of these games recently, the starting pitching, like last night, did their job. It's just that they were losing these games 4-2, 3-2, 3-1, 2-1. So to get a 7 spot on the board, obviously you have Alex Bregman waking up from his early season slumber.
Right on schedule.
You have Yordan Alvarez recently hitting the ball better, and pair that with Yiner, who's been smoking all over the yard.
Yeah, and it brings up kind of, and this is something Jeremy pointed out a few days ago. I think it was after the Wednesday game, the finale against the Cardinals, where, look, I mean, Joe Espada's obviously taken a lot of strays, over the course of the first 2 months of the season. The season obviously hasn't gone how Astros fans would have hoped it would. But I think one of his best moves of the season was, Yonder was in a deep funk, and he gave him, consecutive days off, back-to-back days. And ever since then, Yonder returned, and he's red hot. And there may be something to this, and this could eventually lead to, once the Jose Abreu experiment is over, and hell, he even homered last night. But once that experiment is over, maybe Yonder does transition to first base. I think that would make a lot of sense. But last year when he was playing and he was hitting so well, he was spending like half his time at DH, or at least a third of his time at DH. That's obviously not been the case this year. And maybe just the mental toll of having to prepare so much more as a catcher, it's just sapping energy from his at-bats, sapping his preparation time, planning for pitchers that he's about to see, and that could be a negative effect. So the days off, back-to-back days from Joe Espada to give Yonder Diaz, I thought was a great move, and it's paid dividends right away.
Yeah, with Caratini playing, he's
played well enough.
0 for 3 with the walk last night, but yeah, over the course of the season, he's played well enough to be the catcher 2 out of every 5 days, or 3 out of every
exactly.
5.
It doesn't have to be something drastic, but just
yeah,
give Yonder that extra day off.
Yeah, he's done enough to where they can kind of share the load a little. It's catcher by committee for the Astros. I guess a committee of two.
Okay. So who's the third down catcher? I think that's what we're gonna have to. The passing game catcher. That's what we're gonna have to figure out.
Who's the vulture?
Oh my God!
Red
So
zone
yeah,
vulture.
who's the Jarrett McKinnon that no one has? Well, actually, Jarrett McKinnon has that.
No, more like Mike Tolbert. Back in the day.
Yes. Mike Tolbert was a total vulture. Gus Edwards was that vulture. Has been that now. How it seems like he might even be the lead back in LA, but we'll see. So the other notable that we mentioned from Game 1 against the Angels last night, of course, Framber Valdez with the complete game. I mean, I don't know what to say about it. It's just more kind of some days Framber is like one of the best 3-4 pitchers in the league, and some days he's garbage. Some days he's garbage.
Yep.
And last night he was amazing. So I don't know what the takeaway is from it, other than if Framber, if Yonder hits a home run every day and Framber throws complete games every time out, the Astros gonna be tough to beat. Sean.
Yeah, they're gonna be very tough to beat. My biggest takeaway is
play the Angels more.
Well, that and Framber threw a complete game, throwing 106 pitches.
Yeah.
I'm glad real baseball's back.
106 pitches is real baseball. Shout out to Nolan Ryan throwing 200 pitches every night.
Some guys aren't allowed to throw like 70 now.
God, yeah, pretty
Kids
much.
these days, am I right?
Kids don't have to tell me. Yeah, you're 28 now. You get it.
Framber might be at my age.
I think he's slightly older than you.
Okay,
we can fact check that during the break, but I think he's slightly older than you. All right, so as I mentioned, Keith Law, the longtime baseball writer from The Athletic, was on the Killer Bees on Thursday, and I'm glad I booked that because
good book.
Thank you, but I thought he'd be good. We've had him on before, and he's been good, and he's certainly not been one to shy away from giving opinions about the Astros. He once called the Astros front office after the quote-unquote firing of James Click a clown show. Kind of turned out to be right on that one. And so in this first clip you're about to hear from Keith Law, and you can find the full interview on the podcast page, ESPN9. Is it ESPN975.com? Or is it, I don't even remember what the website address is.
Yeah,
I think Google
so.
it. You'll find it.
I mean, you
Google
can go
ESPN 97.5 podcast.
Go to Killer Bees podcast. You'll find it.
Yeah, you'll find it. Anyway, so this first clip, Jeremy asked him, I was like, hey, you've given a lot of opinions in the past that pissed off Astros fans, but it turns out you've been right. What are your thoughts on the backlash you receive online?
I don't care if Astros fans don't like me. I was right. What have I said that was wrong? These fans don't want to hear negative things about their team. That's their right as a fan, but the team's made a lot of pretty colossal mistakes since winning that World Series. I mean, how's that Jose Abreu contract working out? How's that Rafael Montero contract working out? How is he letting guys like Jeff Bagwell, with no front office experience whatsoever, make critical decisions working out? The team is clearly in worse shape today than they were the moment they won that World Series. The farm system is worse off. The Major League Club is worse off. It's just been mistake after mistake after mistake. The Astros fans want to claim they don't like me. Can I hand you a tissue? Really, where's the lot? What have I said that was wrong? Everything I said about this organization turned out to be true. Sorry, but not sorry.
I mean, yeah. Pretty much.
What a dismount from Keith Law.
I mean, first off,
can I hand you a tissue? Sorry, not sorry.
First off, I appreciate the heel work as a wrestling fan.
Yeah.
I appreciate the heel work from Keith Law. So well done there.
Always great to be in this great stinky city of Houston. Yeah.
I look forward to Astros Twitter and Keith Law settling it inside Hell in a Cell at some point. But yeah, I mean, look, I think we were all and I'll speak for myself. I think in the afterglow of winning the world, I didn't win it. In the afterglow of the Astros winning the World Series in 2022, us. I think we were all willing to kind of overlook things that we would have normally overlooked. Like the Astros just won a World Series, and Jeff Bagwell wants to insert that we're using too much analytics, and we're going to push out the analytics guy. Like that should have set off just all the alarm bells, and it did for Keith Law, and he said it. So, kudos to him for pointing out what should have been obvious to everyone. But I think we're all just kind of willing to overlook it because we were all so happy about the World Series title. But, I mean, he was 100% correct.
It was also so absurd in the moment. Or not absurd, but it was just something where you're like, X-player says they're using too many analytics as...
They just won a World Series!
As they're literally on a... Not literally, they were... It wasn't during the literal parade, but it was not that, not that far after the parade, and you're just like, oh, yeah, I forgot all the good old-time... eye test winning
Ugh.
that Jeff Bagwell did back in
Tipping
his
his
day.
cap to Glavin and Smoltz and
So
Mannix.
it was a little bit of like, yeah, sure, sure thing, Jeff Bagwell, like old man get off my lawn kind of take, but you didn't think that would actually become the organizational ethos for the
Right.
for the Astros,
Right. Like I think in the moment when I heard it, I kind of and I wish I don't remember the exact timing of the order of events, but I think I remember in the moment like, okay, that seems like a old man Jeff Bagwell thing to say. I didn't think it was actually going to influence Jim Crane's decision makings and how he ran the structure of the front office. And unfortunately,
Yeah.
it's kind of been downhill since then.
Yeah, especially with that offseason, they let go of James Click after after Game 6 of the World Series that they won, uh, and and then
It's just yeah.
that offseason they're looking and interviewing GM candidates, but they're doing that after they already signed. They
Brantley had already
re-signed-
been signed. Montero had been signed.
Yeah, they re-signed Montero. They
Abreu
signed.
too.
They signed
Yeah.
Abreu, and then in January, I want to say they hired Dana Brown. And in the moment, I remember thinking like, okay, Jim Crane got to pretend to be GM for a winter. He signed a first baseman. That cool. Like they needed to replace Yuli at that point, so it was like, oh, all right, that's not terrible. It's honestly like one 38-year-old Cuban first baseman out, one 38 Cuban first baseman in. I'm just like,
So
okay.
1-for-1 transfer.
Yeah, you're like, oh, fine, whatever. They're both righties. Doesn't even change that. Just and
But
yeah,
one doesn't have cool pineapple hair.
no, and that's
Really that's
really
the shame in all this.
the last 2 years. That's really what's been holding the Astros
Yeah, it
back.
has. Yeah, I mean, Abreu's got the chin thing, but it's not as cool as
No, not
pineapple
the
hair.
same.
I mean, it's not the same. It's really isn't.
Also, he can't hit.
Yeah, that well,
He
know,
can't
that
hit
is kind of
anymore.
a problem as well. Yeah, that ideally, Sean, I don't know if enough people say this. I don't know if you want to call me a scout or not,
Is
but
this something that Jeff Bagwell would disagree with?
possibly. I don't know. I'd have to consult with them. But generally, I prefer it when the first baseman for my favorite teams hit. I mean, that's kind of maybe an organizational
All
difference in
Enough,
philosophy.
enough with the sabermetrics. All right.
All right, so one more. Actually, no, we're right up against the break. I'm going to piss Johnny off if I go to another cut right now. More from Keith Law on the other side of the break, and it plays right into what we just talked about what Sean said about how they made all these moves and then hired their general manager. Does that lead people to believe that maybe Dana Brown is just a puppet for Crane and his cronies? We'll have that conversation next in the Bullpen, ESPN Radio 97.5 and 92.5.
Broadcasting live from the Veritex Community Bank Studios, it's the Bullpen on ESPN 97.5 and 92.5.
ESPN Radio 97.5 and 92.5. If you want to join in on the conversation we're having about the Astros and some of the bombs Keith Law dropped on the Killer Bees on Thursday, give us a call on the HRMP listener line, 713-780-3776. Lamont has texted in, and he had one part of his text I'm going to save for 1:15, Sean, for our big question.
Oh.
He's got a big question for us, so I'm going to save that part of it. But just quickly, since you are sports entertainment, Sean,
Yes.
Greater, Hulk Hogan or Hollywood Hogan?
Gotta go with Hollywood Hogan.
I mean, yeah. I mean, he's the leader of the NWO.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I got to go with Hollywood Hogan.
It's NWO for life.
Do you have any idea what that means, Johnny?
I was just gonna ask: are those two people the same?
For life.
Are they the same people?
They-
Hollywood.
no,
They're different
no.
personas.
They're
Oh,
different.
different persona.
No,
Okay.
yeah.
I
Yeah,
didn't
one
know
is
they
a
were different
40-year-old man
wrestlers.
trying to reinvent himself to stay relevant after his original 1980s gimmick
Gotcha.
ran out. Yeah, that's what happened there. The take your vitamins and say your prayers gimmick wasn't working
I
anymore.
don't think Johnny's a
so Hogan had to
Wolfpack
get
guy.
real.
Yeah, I don't think he's a Wolfpack guy.
No, Johnny's not all about the red and black. No, Johnny doesn't know what he's. Yeah, no. All right. So who is about the red and black? Keith Law, probably. I don't know. Going back to his appearance, you like that transition shot?
I like maybe.
Yeah, I know. I like to immediately no sell things I say. That's kind of part of my gimmick. Anyway, so Keith Law, continuing some of the conversation he had with the Killer Bees on Thursday, and following up what Sean was saying about the weird timing of not only, they win a World Series and now Jeff Bagwell's poo-pooing the way they won a World Series, but then they don't hire Dana Brown, their general manager, until after they've already re-signed Montero, re-signed Brantley, and then signed Jose Abreu to a 3-year deal that is absolute garbage. So Joel asked him, is the perception from the outside, it would be interesting to see what you think it is from the inside, but it's a perception from the outside that Dana Brown is basically just a puppet for Jim Crane and the cronies around him.
Yes, that is 100% the perception. Now, I can't speak to. I know Dana. I haven't talked to him about his role there. I wouldn't ask a question like that. I just don't think that is appropriate. But I can tell you that is the perception, that Jim Crane has decided that he's smarter than everybody else, and he's going to have his little cadre of advisors who he respects because they played the game, not because they are evaluators or have experience in a front office. And he is allowing them to manage, at the very least, the core major league decisions.
And I think, in a nutshell, that's the problem with the last year, or I guess if you're including the free agency moves, the last 2 years post James Click leaving. The problem with what the Houston Astros have done that have led them down to the path where they're below 500.
Yeah, it's all the major decisions.
Yeah, all the majors. I am assuming that Dana Brown is still being allowed to make draft picks because Jeff Bagwell's not scouting.
Yeah.
All the Division I teams in college baseball.
I'd even say some of the guys they claim off waivers
Right.
that end up on the big
But
league
the
squad.
major, the free agent moves, any trades that are made, all that is run through Bagwell, Reggie Jackson, up to Crane, and then they tell Dana Brown what to do. And it seems like Keith Law is also under the opinion that is what is happening right now.
Yeah, and so
And that's frightening.
It's frightening. It's also a good way to kind of decipher because when it happened, we thought, Kendall Graveman going down immediately led to signing Josh Hader this offseason to I think it was 5 years, $95 million contract, where you go, that's just not a Jim Crane move, but it has to be a Jim Crane move.
He had never gone on over the salary cap, not the salary cap, but the luxury tax threshold.
It's definitely not a Dana Brown move.
No.
Dana Brown doesn't have the juice to just make that move.
No.
So, yeah, I think it confirms not just the acquisitions that they made or any acquisitions that they'll do at the trade deadline or this next offseason, but I think it also sheds a lot of light to what probably happened or what more than likely happened when Jose Abreu got sent to West Palm Beach and got sent back and
it wasn't like he went down and hit 500. He's facing off against like less than single A players, and he was like just okay.
And to make his re-debut, I don't know what you call it when you
Yeah, like like kind of like like if a place closes and they
return?
reopen, they call it a re-grand opening.
Yeah,
so
his-
sure, yeah,
his-
re-debut.
But his re-grand opening was against probably the hardest and most important series to date this series, with the 4-game series in Seattle against
Right.
all their best pitchers. And
Yeah.
it's like, you know what? That's when we work back in the
You know, the
Jose
guy
Abreu.
that can't even hit, his jersey number, which is 79. Let's put him up against George Kirby and Logan Gilbert.
Yeah.
And, yeah, it's just
And it's also a series that if they win, they can be a half game back. If they win every game, they're half game, because we forget, because now they're 6.5 back, and it's a little bit out of. They worked themselves up to like 3.5,
yeah,
4.5
they were
games back
Yeah, well, as bad as the season had started off, and it
before
was
that series.
It was 3. Yeah, they were because they had won. They ripped off like I think right before
6 in a row.
6 or 7 wins in a row, and it was just. And then but because it seems like ego and pride at times is more important to Crane and his advisors than trying to just win games. He's forcing Jose Abreu back into the lineup, and we're going to get to an actual quote here in a second about Jose Abreu specifically. But and I think we talked about this last week a little bit, Sean, but even if they have the down year this year, or even if they rebound, doesn't matter, to me, as far as the opinion I'm about to give, regardless of what happens this year, as long as this group of, decision makers is in the front office, Crane, Bagwell, and Biggio, or in Reggie Jackson, and not allowing guys with an analytics background, a GM background, a scouting background, the actual general manager to make the moves, I don't have any faith in this, going forward. Like this, you look at the farm system, it's ranked in the bottom, 5 in the league. They've got a lot of veteran players. They got a lot of players that are about to run out of contracts, like Fromber and Tucker and Bregman. What faith would you have in this group to take a team that's older with no farm system, with contracts expiring, to then reshape the team and move it forward in a way that they can stay in contention?
Yeah, no, you
Zero.
can't have any faith in the long. If this is going to, and we talked about this a little bit on Gallant and George without George on Friday.
By the way,
But-
I think it's a better show. I mean, honestly, Joe's not listening. It's fine. You can say it. It's a safe place.
But we were talking about how
Johnny's shaking his head. Joe knows I love him. I'm taking shots.
yeah, and I don't feel like I have that relationship.
No,
to-
yeah, I was
like
at his
that
wedding.
aggressive
I could take a
of a
shot. I could take shots.
I forgot what we were talking about. The
Uh,
long-term
the-
vision.
yeah,
that this down year would shame Jim Crane and basically whip him back into shape, because as we pointed out, when he didn't have new owner syndrome when he took over the Astros.
No, he let Luno
He let
run
Luno
do everything.
strip
Quite
it down.
literally do everything.
Strip it down to studs and do whatever. And he hired a baseball guy, not really a
nerd.
baseball guy in the way that we talk about traditionally, but like a nerd, someone who, with what he did, changed the way teams view analytics across Major League Baseball for the next decade. Like, Jim Crane made those changes. He changed the way baseball gets played, and Jim Crane had no problem getting out of the way. And then, in a weird way, after actually getting this success, that's when Jim Crane was like, all right, it's Jim Crane time.
Time to flex the muscles.
Time to run this team the way I want to.
He's
want
like
it
Hulk
to run.
Hogan ripping off the shirt and
Yeah.
starting to flex for the crowd.
Which it proves a willingness to change. Now the change has been in the wrong direction.
Yes.
But it does show that, well, he has done the right thing before. So there is a little bit of maybe this year, maybe it's more than this year, maybe it's a prolonged downturn, but that is what can lead Crane to change his ways, take it back in the right direction.
Yeah, it's. I gave a similar opinion on the Killer Bees that I think
We stole it from you, don't worry.
I doubt that. There's no original ideas in radio. Check out 130 Mount Rushmore +1. But I think it's going to take, because I think we know the genesis of the change for Jim Crane when he changed from letting Luno run everything to being way more hands-on, and it was the cheating scandal.
Mm-hmm.
Like he said in the wake of that, I'm not going to be caught off guard again. Like he claims, whether you believe him or not, to not have known what was going on. He was embarrassed by it. And he said, in the aftermath that I'm going to be more involved. I'm going to be more hands-on, and I'm not going to let this happen again under my watch. So I think it's going to take, and I think you're right when you say this, and I agree with you, that it's going to take a serious amount of egg on the face and a lot of embarrassment for Jim Crane to move back the other way. I don't think missing the playoffs this year is enough to do it because they still have, Kyle Tucker. Basically, they have everyone but Alex Bregman under contract. So they're still going to be in the belief that, well, it's baseball, shrug your shoulders, we'll rebound, we'll make a few moves, and we're going to be in contention this year. I don't think we're going to reach that moment where he's embarrassed enough to go back to how baseball teams should be run till 2026 at the earliest.
Yeah, and just Jim Crane, if you're listening, there is a difference between
he is, yeah.
allowing the biggest cheating scandal in 21st century baseball. There's a difference between being so hands off that you allow that,
There's a middle ground,
and being so hands on that Jeff Bagwell is running your team into the ground.
Yeah, can we find a middle ground?
You're somehow being more expensive and worse run. Normally, bad baseball owners it's because they're too cheap. Nope, he has no problem.
Spending money. He's spending money
on all the wrong places. So yeah, and like you said, it is glass half full, or maybe even more than half full, to say that that 2024 would be the year that is the come to Jesus moment. But because of this team, I think its window isn't open forever, but I think it's open longer than just this year.
Yeah.
And so there could be let's run it back one more time.
100%. So one of the things he foolishly spent money on, I mean, the kind of the center of all this conversation, something he did before the hiring of Dana Brown, is sign Jose Abreu. And Keith Law, talking about Jose Abreu, asked if Jose Abreu should be DFA'd. Here's how Keith Law answered that question.
Well, he's a release. He should be released. I mean, there's no purpose to keeping him on the roster at this point. You gave him the first year. Okay, maybe it's a down year. I didn't think so. I thought we had plenty of reason to think it was real, but I also understand them saying 3-year contract before he's given to the second year, see if an off-season of work changes anything. It hasn't. At this point, you have to add, the money's gone. Right? He's paid no matter what. The guaranteed contract, the money is not a factor in the decision. You have to answer 2 questions. Is this team better off with Jose Abreu playing, as an everyday player? No, they are clearly not. Then the second question is this team better off with Jose Abreu on the roster? I think that's a little more subjective, but the answer is probably no. At this point, they are simply better off if he's not there.
Yeah, I mean, I think the point about the money is a good one because people, I think, have pointed to, Jim Crane doesn't want to give up on the investment. He doesn't want he doesn't want to take the embarrassment of having this guy and then get, not getting anything out of him for the money that he paid Jose Abreu. But as Keith Law has pointed out, others have pointed out on the station as well, the money is gone no matter what. If he plays if he plays every day for the remainder of his contract, or if you cut him today and he never steps on the field at Minute Maid Park again, the money is the same regardless. The only consideration should be, can Jose Abreu hit? Can he field? And does he make your team better? And I think the easy, obvious, super obvious answer to those questions are no, no, and no. So if the money is the same regardless of what you do, just make the better move for the team. And it's not to play Jose Abreu despite his home run last night.
Yeah.
I gotta be fair to mention the home run.
Take that, Keith Law.
Yeah, he homered on the way back. No, anyway, yeah, cut him.
Yeah, I mean, he even said, he started off by saying in the starting lineup, he doesn't help. And then on the roster, as in on the bench, he's like, well, that's more subjective. I actually think he is one of the rare players where if he's not starting, then what's the point of having Jose?
What is he, a mascot? What would be the point of keeping him on the roster to not play?
Because he's a
clubhouse leader, quote unquote?
I'll be nice and say he's a one-position defender.
It's not defending it that well.
You can argue that he might be a zero-position defender.
Yeah.
And so...
He's a DH that doesn't hit.
Yeah, and yeah, that's the other thing. Okay, so then he'll just be a pinch hitter. It's like, well, not really that either. So
he's not hitting his weight.
Because if he was pinch hitting, or if he was a good pinch hitter, that would lead you to believe, oh, so he's having a good year with the bat. No, that's why he's not starting. It's because
Right.
he's so bad on offense. So I think that it's a thing of where if he's not producing from the plate, then it's like, what is his
What's the
point
point?
on this roster? You're not going to roster a first baseman to start over him, and then a backup who can only play first base.
I know the pay doesn't necessarily equal here, but last year they had Uncle Mike kind of riding the bench, kind of being that veteran guy. Does it pay to have Abreu as sort of that same kind of veteran figure and just have him ride the bench? I know the money doesn't necessarily add up to that, but how much value does that bring?
Well, Michael Brantley was also hurt for a lot of the
Yeah.
time, so it's not literally taking
Pretty
up
much
a
the whole
roster
time.
spot. So
And when he came back, he hit.
yeah, so it's a little bit different because I'm just talking about as being one of the 26 on the active game day roster, where it's like, well, one of them isn't a pinch hitter and can only play one position, also not that well. So now you're basically playing with 25 people in most games. So it's a little bit different in that way. By all accounts, though, he is not he is liked in the clubhouse. Guys want him to be good, and even him accepting the assignment
Sure.
to West Palm Beach does speak to the fact that he's not a guy who's like, nope, just pay me my money. I'm okay with stinking. He wants to get better, but it just hasn't happened.
No, and there is a human element to this to where I do feel bad because, yeah, like you said, there's a lot of evidence that Jose Abreu cares. He wants to be better. He's not just, riding it out, taking the easy way out to end his career. And I think his teammates around him respect him for being willing to accept the demotion to Florida for a few weeks. But I think the reality is, Father Time's undefeated, and he's not coming back from this. And to your point, Sean, about the roster, kind of the difference to what Johnny was asking about with Brantley. Brantley, when he was hurt, is not taking up a roster spot.
Yeah.
He's not taking up one of your 26. Jose Abreu is not only not contributing, but he's basically going to make you carry 3 first basemen because you can't play him. You have to have a guy to start, and then you have to have a backup for that guy to start.
Yeah.
So now you're carrying 3 guys just because Jose Abreu can't hit. I'd much rather them, give Joey Loperfido, who's getting called up now because of Kyle Tucker going on the injured list, but give Joey Loperfido a chance at first base. Mauricio Dubon's played some first base. We mentioned Yonder Diaz. He had, I think, 1 start at first base last year. There's so many more options to me than continuing to run out a guy that's barely hitting over 100, if he's even hitting that at all. Like I don't care about a home run. I don't care about anything else. It's gone. It's gone.
That is another difference between he and Mike Brantley, is that Mike Brantley was a 290 hitter his entire time with the Astros.
He rolled out of bed when he came back. I think it was in a Boston series, like right away had a hit. It was like he's just the guy that hits. Like he was. I don't know if you heard this, Sean, about Michael Brantley. He was a professional hitter. I don't know if that was. I don't know if that's ever been. Yeah, I don't know if that's ever been said about Michael Brantley. I might have been breaking new ground there.
So he got paid?
Yeah, exactly. That's the dumbest nickname, isn't it? Professional hitter. Yeah, he gets a salary.
It
Yes,
is dumb.
By definition, he is a professional
It
hitter.
is dumb, but I also, when someone calls someone a professional hitter, I'm like, I know what they mean.
I know what they mean, but it's still. Yeah, I know. Maybe
It's a
maybe
dumb
we're.
saying, but it's very effective
Yeah.
at this point.
So quickly before we get out here to wrap up this Astros conversation, we got a text from 0614. Does this change your overall opinion on Jeff Bagwell? I think the answer is going to be different because you, as someone born, he was still in his prime when you were born, but still you're like a baby at the end of his prime. So
Back
this
of the
probably,
baseball card.
yeah,
I
exactly.
was looking at the back of the baseball card in
like
my
by
crib.
the time you're like cognizant of what's going on, he's pretty much washed.
Yeah.
So I think our opinion might differ on this, but does how poorly he's helped run this front office change tarnish the legacy of Jeff Bagwell to you?
I don't know if it tarnishes. I mean, yeah, not as a player though. It tarnishes his legacy.
Like when
I'd
someone
say.
says to you, Jeff Bagwell, like what is because of this your immediate reaction? Like,
Well, now, yes,
yes, I
because
think that's kind of the point.
But
You don't think about.
that's very present tense.
I know, but I
But
think
in the
that's
future-
I think that's the question.
Well,
though.
yeah, in the present, every time Jeff Bagwell gets mentioned, probably he's a top 3 mention
Here, say
among
Jeff,
Astros.
Say Jeff Bagwell.
Jeff Bagwell.
That's the reaction.
Yeah, I was gonna say we talk about him every day on this radio
Right.
station. He's probably the
He's
third.
living rent free in
He's
our
the
heads.
third name that gets said the most, and
Yeah, he probably is.
and
I know we're way over. Sorry, Johnny. What we got in a second?
and every time we're complaining about him.
Yeah, yeah.
Every
think
single time
you said
it's
the word,
negative.
You said the word time. I think we're going to need time. We're going to need a few years after
Yeah.
this Bagwell thing ends with him, Jack Easter being the Astros.
Oh.
We're gonna need some time. That's not
That was-
unfair.
that was
don't
bad.
don't
That was
groan.
bad.
It's
That's
a
not
little unfair because Jack Easterby didn't play for the Texans.
Yeah,
and,
And
It-
Jeff Bagwell has as
if-
much general manager experience as Jack Easterby did.
If JJ Watt became the vice president of the Astros and then did everything that JJ Watt did, that would be like
That was yeah. All right. We'll get out. There's more Keith Law I want to get to. Maybe we'll squeeze it in later. I'm not sure, but we got to talk about the Houston Texans on the other side of the break because they're saying things at OTAs, but Sean and I wonder, does it matter? That on the other side of the break. ESPN Radio 97.5 and 92.5.
This is the Bullpen on ESPN 97.5 and 92.5. Live from the Veritex Community Bank Studios. Here are the producers of ESPN 97.5 and 92.5.
ESPN Radio 97.5 and 92.5. Welcome back in. We're going to get to some Texans sound here in a minute, but just a quick programming note coming up at 1 o'clock. We have an interview with Houston SaberCats wing player Christian Dyer. Jeremy Branham had a chance to sit down with your first place Houston SaberCats wing player Christian Dyer ahead of their 7-1-3 night tonight. They're wearing the Houston blue kits, the light colored, like kind of, I can't say that, I guess Columbia blue. I don't want to say the
H-Town
team
blue.
name because I might get sued by the Adams family. But they're wearing the light blue, the Houston blue kits tonight for their game. Again, first place Houston SaberCats. There's going to be some Houston legends out there like Calvin Murphy and I'm forgetting the other one.
Vince Young.
No, well, Vince Young is going to come up later in the show. No, I'm forgetting the name of I almost said the team name again. Doesn't matter. Anyway, Christian Dyer interview coming up at 1 o'clock. Jeremy Branham sat down with him. And then, of course, at 1:30, we will have Mount Rushmore Plus One, our sports radio landscape changing segment. But right now, Houston Texans at minicamp saying lots of things to the media. But Sean and I are wondering, does any of it matter? And we start off with your quarterback, C.J. Stroud, talking about Nico Collins being a generational talent, Sean.
His numbers called. He always makes a play. And, he's a generational talent, man. He's like our age is Andre Johnson, in my opinion, of just how fast he is, how he gets in and out of his braces, releases, how strong he is. And I think last year was just a preview to what is to come for him. And one thing I'm proud of him for is just the work has never stopped. He's constantly in here working on his body, constantly in here working on his hands, his mobility in the weight room, So for me, just having a true, I think we have like 5 number ones, so that's kind of cool to have. And I've had that before in college, and now I'll have it again.
Well, first off, you don't have 5 number ones, CJ.
What?
I can't even get to the
Hater,
bit before.
hater
I can't
alert.
even get to the bit before I'm not going to allow CJ. Look, CJ, we're not even going to get to his appearance on the $1 Million Worth of Game podcast. Like, CJ's been on a bit of a heater, throwing out some hot takes.
Content
He is
king.
a content king.
CJ and the C stands for content, baby. Like,
It's not Cornelius. It's content.
Content.
Oh man, I like that. I'm going to steal that. Copyright the bullpen.
Please, just don't credit me
2024.
for it.
Yeah. But yeah, look, I'll let the 5 number ones go because that's obviously ridiculous. But Nico Collins, Sean, Gen Z, Andre Johnson? Question mark? Like are you technically Gen Z, or is that even younger than you?
I'm either the oldest you can possibly be, Gen Z, or the youngest you can possibly be, millennial. It depends on where.
Yeah, I don't think you qualify. I think you're more Gen Z.
I would agree
because I'm a millennial and we're like
And we're not
12,
the same,
we're 12 years apart. So yeah, I can't put you in that same group. But yeah, so Gen Z, Andre Johnson. I mean, he's had. I mean, look, I don't know if this is Gen Z slang or if this is just old man slang, but I stand for him to get a contract.
That's millennial
Yeah,
slang.
it's millennial. God, I was trying to. All right, hold on.
That's an
hold
Eminem
on, hold on.
song
Give me a
from,
minute.
like,
Hold on. Give me a
2000.
minute. Let me find a way here to be totally Gen Z with. Okay, so
Okay.
all right. Okay, here we go. So CJ Stroud says Nico Collins is Gen Z Andre Johnson. That's cap, Sean. There we go. I did it.
Yeah,
I
you
did
did
it.
Congrats.
You think you
Congratulate
did
me,
it.
Johnny.
Congratulate.
Congratulate me. I did it.
What year did
I'm youthful.
Stand by Eminem come out?
The freaking 90s. Probably.
I mean, obviously, CJ Stroud, again, content king. It was on the Marshall Mathers LP in 2000.
Okay. All right. Not 90s. Thank you. All right.
It's a 21st century reference.
Super youthful.
It's
Thank you.
a Enron Field era reference.
Super youthful. Thank you.
Yeah, he's not Andre Johnson. What are we talking about?
I know. Like, I don't know what you think Nico Collins.
He's good. He's not Andre Johnson.
Yeah, like I don't know what you think his ceiling is. I mean, I think he could go up from what he was last year, but Andre had multiple seasons of 1,500 plus yards. Nico doesn't have that in his bag.
So why did Nico? What is the reason? The popular reason given as because Nico Collins been talked about a lot recently with his new contract was the reason given why his first 2 years he didn't put up numbers.
Davis
third year.
Mills.
Yes, Davis Mills. He didn't have a good quarterback.
Right.
Who did Andre Johnson have other than Matt Schaub?
Boom. Yeah. He had let's see, he had Tony Banks, he had David Carr, he had Dave Ragone, he had Sage Rosenfels.
Yeah, he got some Case Keenum.
Yeah, Case Keenum, go Cougs. So yeah, look, I mean,
did he get an Osweiler?
That's a great. No, he didn't get Osweiler. Osweiler was 2016.
He might have gotten Mallet.
Andre
Fitzpatrick.
He did have Fitzpatrick
2014
was 2014.
yeah.
And I think that was Andre's last season
It
here.
was.
So he did actually, he did play with Fitzpatrick, didn't play with Hoyer, and didn't play with Mallet.
What I'm saying
But,
is
yeah,
he
you're
did
right,
that and had a Hall of Fame career.
You're 100% right. When he was with the crappy QBs that Nico Collins couldn't produce with, he was still playing at a Pro Bowl level. So yeah, Nico Collins, great player. He is not Andre Johnson. We've got more quotes coming out of Cap, exactly. Shout out to the guys that used to do that on the station. We got more from the Texans minicamp sound coming out of there. Does it matter on the other side of the break? ESPN Radio 97.5 and 92.5.
You're back inside the bullpen with the producers of ESPN 97.5 and 92.5.
Kind of ironic that we're playing Snoop Dogg coming out of the break, because we found out during the break that Johnny Belmer not a fan of quality bars.
No,
Quality bars?
Yeah, he doesn't respect the game. It's really sad.
Not an air team guy.
Yeah, not a team guy
That's
at
not
all.
what I said.
He's a bad guy, that Johnny Belmer. All right, 713-780-3776 is the HRP listener line. If you want to call, and text
I
us.
missed having Belmer. It feels like it's been forever because we had 2 weeks off.
2 weeks off.
and
Last
then
week just Cam was here.
Yeah,
Yeah, we got to get all our stuff in now. Yeah, we don't know when Johnny Belmer. I mean, Johnny Belmer's dressed like he's either about to head to jail or to another job.
Yeah,
So we got to get our stuff in now.
Busy man.
Yeah, busy man. All right, with the nice shoes. I do want to know where Johnny got those shoes from. They're nice. Anyway, if you want to get in on the HRP listener line, any of the conversation we've had on the Astros or the Texans, give us a call, send us a text, HRP listener line, 713-780-3776. So as I mentioned last segment, coming up at 1 o'clock, our very next segment will be the interview Jeremy Branham had with Christian Dyer, the winger for your first place Houston SaberCast. But before we get there, more sound from Texans minicamp and asking the question, does it matter? More from C.J. Stroud right now on how he'll approach to distributing the ball to a talented offense.
I get that question a lot from people just walking around, just anywhere, an Astro game, whatever. And I'm like, man, it's football. You know, you're open, you get the ball. And my thing is, you got to pick your poison playing this. Like, who you going to double? Who you going to cater to? You got 5 dogs who are able to get the ball in each given play. You know, so I think it's fine. I know Slow has done a great job of being more creative and, you know, has put different personnel packages out there, guys in different positions that going from inside to outside. You know, and you know, I'm very excited to work with Coach Slow again. He's done amazing so far, you know, OTAs, and will continue to do such.
I mean, honest question before we get into what he said there. Like, I don't even know who the 4 and 5 are that he's referring to. Like, who? I mean, Sean, I'll put you on the spot right now. Who is he talking about? Because we know who 1, 2, and 3 are, or in some order. Who are 4 and 5?
Dalton Schultz and John Matthew. What are you talking about?
Noah Brown's not in there?
Exactly.
It's a big 6.
Yeah.
6 dogs.
So what we found right now is
The
that
whole pack.
C.J. Stroud hates Robert Woods. That's what we found out. He doesn't respect Robert.
Well, he knows
Bobby Trees. No.
He can look at the spot track and he sees like, oh, they can open up how much cap space if they cut him?
Is C.J. Stroud? The S stands for saving cap space. Yeah, C is for content, S is for saving. I don't know. It's a reach. I'm going to move on.
Just saving. CJ Stroud.
Cap saving Stroud. There we go. All right, I like it. We got there, Sean. We workshopped it live on air and we got there. So I liked what he was talking about with like people coming up to him at Astros game. Hey, CJ, how are you going to get the ball to everybody? You got 5 dogs to throw to. How are you going to get them all fed? But. Like, I think this thing, other than the potential for Diggs to melt down, I think this thing kind of works itself out because them being able to spread out the defense's attention that much by having that many quality players to cover, I think is going to get people open. And C.J. Stroud has proved that he can hit guys that are open, so these guys will all get theirs.
Yeah,
the first 3. I don't know about 4 and 5. The first 3 will all get theirs.
Okay, well then you might have some problems.
You're gonna have
if you're not
angry dogs at 4 and 5 not getting fed.
Yeah, if you're not feeding Xavier Hutchinson, then I don't know. Maybe that's what people are asking at the Astros
at the Astros game. Hey man, make sure you get Hutch the ball.
Hey, he's on my dynasty team, all right?
Paul's gonna love that comment.
Also, this is a team that it didn't feel like they had enough receivers last year, especially once Tank Dell got hurt. And, you know, that's just the nature of football. And I'm not saying Tank Dell's going to get hurt next year, but one of these wide receivers is going to miss at least a handful of games next
there's
season.
No
that's
way
just
all 3
how
make
football works.
17 games, yeah.
So I think it works itself out because they did add 1 wide receiver, and now we go from there needs help to how do you get all these guys the ball? It's a record time too.
That is funny.
From not enough weapons to oh my God, 5 dogs. How are you gonna feed them all? So I think it'll work itself out. B, it's something where even with someone like Diggs who has been volatile in the past, it's normally not year 1. Honestly,
Yeah,
year one's kind of the easy
Right.
year when it comes to that kind of stuff, and he's not going to be on the more than likely he's not going to be on the team next year anyway. So I see it only as a benefit, not only with the talent but also the depth that it gives you.
From 7557. Don't forget about Ben Skoranek, another dog. We
Oh
got
my
6
God,
dogs.
so many.
Didn't they just
dogs.
draft a guy, tight end from Ohio State as well?
Yes, Cade Stover.
Cade Stover,
John,
there
we
you
got
go.
like 8-9 dogs now.
It's a whole sled team.
This is becoming like an AED hoarders show. We got dogs everywhere, poops on the floor. No one's picking up anything. This is gonna be a real situation, Sean.
The neighbors are calling.
The neighbors are calling. Dogs are running wild. Nothing's on a leash. This is going to be a real problem for really for everybody, for the neighborhood. Yeah. Look out if you're on Kirby, man. Dogs running wild on Kirby.
Watch out. Hopefully they all have collars.
Oh, yeah, shot collars. No, that's not
No,
humane.
that's
That's not humane.
inhumane.
Yes, yeah, I know.
I
Anyway,
was hosting a show with Mike Vick.
speaking of one of the dogs that wants to get fed, this was not from minicamp, but Tank Dell was on the podcast we mentioned earlier, the $1 Million Worth of Game podcast.
$1 million.
I'm way too 40 and white to say dollars. Like I think I hit my limit by using using cap earlier. I don't think I can go
Okay.
any further.
I just wanted you to
I'm
make sure
aware.
to get the name right.
I'm
They
gonna
named
say
it.
dollars because I'm 40 and white. But Tank Dell was on that podcast, $1 million worth of game, and gave out his goals
the
for the
name.
2024 season.
10 plus touchdowns. I went over like 1,300 yards. Which is gonna be crazy because we got 3 of us, but we can all do it. I feel like.
I mean, hold on, Sean. Tank Dell in that clip said, "You got 3 of us." What happened to 5 dogs? We went up to 8 dogs at one point. Now Tank, controversy.
I know.
Controversy
I know.
here, alert. He says only 3 dogs, Sean.
I don't know what those twins.
CJ was sitting right next to him when he says that.
Could have corrected them.
Yeah.
I don't know what those twins from South Dakota State are gonna say when they hear this podcast.
But anyway, the goals were, if you didn't hear over our laughing, 10 touchdowns, 1,300 yards. It's lofty expectations for Tank Dell in year 2.
It is lofty. I had Andre Johnson's stats up last segment comparing him to Nico Collins.
He never hit 10 touchdowns.
He never had 10 touchdowns
Nope.
in a season. So
He only hit 9 once.
Tank Dell doing that would be a little surprising, especially like we said with all the dogs that they have. I think as far as expectations go, or outlandish expectations that wide receivers set for themselves, that's like pretty attainable. It's not crazy.
As far as outlandish expectation goes, pretty tame. Like I think when he said like I think of the 2, I don't see any way he hits 1,300 with Nico with Diggs this year. Though last year in 11 games he had 7 touchdowns. He's short. I mean, he's quick in short spaces. I think he gets great separation. I think he could hit 10 touchdowns.
I was gonna say he's not the traditional red zone threat build,
Right. I think
for
he
an
could hit
NFL
10
wide
though.
receiver. But that what you said with the quickness in short areas and the that with the chemistry and the kind of mind meld that him and CJ Stroud seem to have when it gets down there, I do think that he can achieve one of them in this season, or one or the other at some point in his career. I think he can do both in his career.
Do both in his career. But
I don't know if
both this year.
Yeah, or in the same season. That's also a big season.
Well, certainly not with Diggs here. Like I don't see. I mean, I think all the dogs are going to get fed, but I don't know that any of their bowls are just flowing, like they're just curved.
They're going to have to share.
They're
share
gonna
the
have
bowl.
to share a little bit, right? Yeah, the food at the top of the bowl is gonna be more flat, not rounded necessarily. Because look, we got 8 dogs to feed. We got
a lot of purine.
Yeah, it's gonna add up, Sean. I don't know if they've worked that into the look. There's a reason Nick Casaria's left $12 million worth of cap space on this roster. He's got a lot of dogs to feed. It's going to be a real thing. All right, let's go ahead and get out now. We got on the other side of the break, as promised. Jeremy Branham had a conversation with Houston SaberCats wing player, your rugby team in here in Houston, your first place rugby team in Houston. Had a conversation with Christian Dyer ahead of their 7-1-3 night tonight. Calvin Murphy out there tonight. They're wearing the Houston blue, the light blue kit, so you might want to make sure you get out there and watch the game. But next up on the bullpen, ESPN Radio 97.5 and 92.5, Jeremy Branham's conversation with Christian Dyer when we get back here in just a couple minutes.
Welcome back in, ESPN 97.5, ESPN 92.5. Being joined now by Christian Dyer, wing for the first-place Houston SaberCats, third year at the club. First off, I want to ask you about the latest victory. Go on the road, win at New Orleans, 21-7. Thoughts on the win? Dominating effort for you guys.
Yeah, it was a good win for us. We knew New Orleans was going to be tough. They were 4-0 the last 4 games, and so we knew they were going to put the pressure on us. Thankfully, with the weather conditions there, it suits our style of play so well. Playing in Houston, you know what it's like with the heat and the humidity. The ball's slippery, and so we resort to our strong kicking game, and it just worked out in our favor against them. But no, hats off to them. They're a strong team. I know they're going to go well rest of the regular season and into the postseason, but proud of the boys for the effort that they put out on the field.
The elements helping you guys out. And you mentioned the postseason. There's only one club in the league that has clinched a spot in the postseason. You guys, what's led to the turnaround? You know, middle of the table last year, this year at the top of the league, clinching a playoff spot. What's changed in your opinion?
Couple things. We've added some really quality players to the squad. Some guys with a lot of experience, guys from overseas, guys from other clubs in the MLR. So they just brought new talent to the squad. But then I think it just goes to the culture on the team. We have a really great vibe. It's extremely competitive. You don't really know if you're going to play week in and week out just because the next guy in your position is always tapping on your shoulder, putting the pressure on you. And I just think that's risen everybody's talents and abilities and work ethic to the next level. Whereas I think last year we lost that a bit, almost a sense of complacency. We kind of knew the squad was going to be pretty much the same week in and week out. But this year it's a different story, and it's all guns blazing. But, yeah, we're just because we clinched the playoff doesn't mean that's the goal. You know, the goal for us is to win the Shield and raise it early August in San Diego.
We always hear about that competitive, balance within the team. You want that healthy competition, and it seems like you guys have that. We're seeing the sport grow and grow. American fans, they'll go watch it for the first time, hooked instantly. What do you think it is about rugby that grabs the attention of the average American sports fan?
I think because it's nonstop, it's really entertaining for the fans and the consumers. There's no timeouts. There's no calls for the plays to come in and come out. And so it's just nonstop, and the fans get to see so much excitement in the game. There's kicking, there's running, there's tackling, there's obviously a lot of scoring, and hopefully that's on our side of the table, not the other teams. But I think the coolest thing about rugby is that there's a position for all shapes and sizes. And so for young kids in America who may have hopes and aspirations to go play NFL or basketball, they can fear that they're limited in that regard because they don't fit that mold or they don't fit the eye test that a lot of sports in America look for, especially football. So it gives them the opportunity to play sport at a high level. And then you throw on the fact that rugby is so international, and there's an opportunity to play for your country and travel the world and represent the USA at World Cups and international matches. I just think there's so many opportunities for rising athletes here in the States.
It's that continuous action. You know, it's kind of the society we live in nowadays. You look at these other sports and like, how do we get rid of the breaks? How do we make it more action-packed? And rugby's already perfect for that.
Oh, absolutely. You talk about the violence, the physicality, and something with rugby, which you don't really get in a lot of other major sports in the U.S., is the field is so close to the stands, and so it really feels like when you're at our games that you're a part of the action, and you hear the sounds of the collisions and the boys talking on the field. So it's a really cool symbiotic relationship between the players on the field and in the crowd, because we certainly hear them, and I know they can hear us.
Christian Dyer joining us, a member of the Houston SaberCats, third year at the club, unveiling some new kits tonight for 7-1-3 night. These new kits certainly grabbed the attention of the city. You're a California guy. Have you been taught up on the history of H-Town Blue?
Not to the extent that I should, but whoever designed the jerseys, hats off to them. I think they're gorgeous. I've tried them on. They fit really well. The color blue, that light blue, is so cool. And I know every boy tonight is going to be stoked to represent that jersey.
There's a certain football owner in Tennessee who's probably not nearly as excited as you guys are. Wanted to ask a little bit about your lifestyle, and certainly you have to be incredibly in shape and have tremendous amount of fitness if you're a player in professional rugby, but also what you do aside from that. I noticed that you ran in the Dallas Marathon. Why did you do this?
Yeah, I probably have a few nuts and bolts loose in my head, but representing the USA back in September of last year, I tore a ligament in my wrist, so I knew I was going to be out of rugby for 3 or 4 months, and I'm just on overdrive all the time. So I needed something to really look forward to and to train for, because I knew rugby wasn't going to be in the equation for a few months. And I've always liked running. I've been in running clubs. Bunch of my buddies run marathons, run ultras, Ironmans, and I was always just fascinated and inspired by them doing those remarkable things. And so I was like, yeah, let's get out of my comfort zone and let's go try something new and challenge me in a way that I'm not accustomed to, which double-edged sword. On one end, it was one of the most incredible experiences that I've ever done. I met some amazing people on the race. I mean, I met a gentleman pushing his daughter with cerebral palsy, and we ran for 2 miles together. And just to hear his story and to give this inspiration and hope to his daughter that she can achieve things just as much as he has running was such a cool moment in my life. But the training requirements was so different than anything I'm used to. And I was training at Sports Academy in Dallas with NFL players, free agents, and we were doing all of the off-season training. It's like NFL combine training. So really big focus on speed and agility and obviously in the weight room. But then in the evenings, 3 or 4 times a week, I'm going to clock miles. And sometimes I'm training 3 hours in the morning, and then I got 7 or 8 miles in the evening. And so it was so taxing on my body. I definitely lost a lot of top-end speed trying to balance the really fast twitch speed training that we do for rugby while the slower stuff with the marathon training. So in hindsight, maybe not the best decision to run a marathon while trying to get ready for a rugby season, but nonetheless, one of the most memorable and impactful moments in my life.
Yeah, that's really cool. It's a great story. I heard that you had a very strict and rigorous workout health routine. You mentioned some of it there. What else can you tell us about, what you do that you think is pretty unique?
Yeah, I mean, the approach I take is just to make everything a lifestyle. And so everything I do on and off the field, when it's my approach to nutrition or recovering or sleeping or hydrating or, working out, if you took rugby out of the equation, it's still going to be the same. I'm going to approach it in the same way regardless of my career. And I think that's the approach a lot of people, they need to take is stop trying to, fit a certain diet or workout plan because of your career. Like there's no mold that works for everyone, but if you make it a lifestyle, it can be sustainable. You can continue with it your entire life. And so when it comes to nutrition, it's eat really clean, quality whole foods, single ingredient foods. I'm in the cold plunge in the saunas 3 or 4 times a week. I'm trying to sleep like a baby. People call me a grandpa, but I'm in bed at 8 p.m. every night, trying to be asleep at around 8:30 or 8:45, whatever it may be, and waking up at the same time. And so I think I've just really dialed in the routine to try to make it as consistent as possible. And obviously it changes as I'm traveling internationally or on tours when there's variables that are out of my control. But it's a pretty clean approach and something that gives me the energy and the mentality and the feeling of just wanting to get stuff done throughout the day. Just put good into your body and you're going to get good out, and that's both physically and mentally.
Christian Dyer, Houston SaberCat, our guest. You also have a podcast called The Chase, which I don't know how you have time to do marathons, the rigorous workout, health routines, play for the Houston SaberCats, and then do a podcast on the side. I do one of those 4 things, and I don't do it well. What are the topics that you bring up on The Chase, and what are things that you're talking about?
Yeah, I'm a busy guy. The schedule's jam-packed, but I needed an outlet outside of sport because it got to a point where rugby and playing sports was my identity, and it wasn't fun. It just felt like rugby was a job. And growing up, I was super fortunate to have guys in my life like Blaine Scully, former captain of the USA team, one of the best in American rugby, UFC Hall of Famer, Uriah Faber. And I was always around really high performing individuals, and I always wanted to be like them. And it got to a point where, because I was constantly surrounded by these amazing individuals, having conversations, working out with them, hanging out with them, I was like, okay, I can create these conversations and give them back to the public and start to unfold their journeys and what the realities of what a high-performing life looks like and what chasing these huge dreams really looks like. And that's both the good, the bad, and everything in between. And so that was the genesis of starting The Chase. Was I wanted to give back to the community that I really want to, and that has also had a huge impact on my life. So from NFL players, NBA players, Olympic athletes, UFC Hall of Famers, high-performing individuals, doctors, nutritionists. I'm just trying to absorb as much knowledge and create such meaningful conversations where I can just give back to the next generation of up-and-coming athletes and also everyday men and women in this world who are trying to chase a dream.
The Chase, wherever you find your podcast, right?
Yeah, Spotify, Apple Podcasts.
Also representing the country, playing for the Rugby USA Eagles. What's that honor like for you?
Yeah, I think it's one of the biggest privileges and honors that I could ever have in this world. Ever since I started playing rugby, which was in 6th grade, the USA team would always come to Sacramento and have 2 test matches there. And then when I was in high school, they would train on our rugby field, which was Jesuit High School, Sacramento. And I saw them from a young age, and all I could think about was me being in their footsteps one day. Anything I do, I try to take it to the highest level possible. That's just in my DNA. And so playing international rugby and at the World Cup is that high level. But it was just a dream that I saw myself going to turn into a reality. And so I've gone to extreme ends just to make it happen. And I'm so fortunate that I'm in the position that I am today. And that's a combination of my work ethic and just being surrounded by amazing individuals who have taught me exactly what I need to do to be in that footsteps. But traveling the world game by game, representing my country has been one of the coolest things that I've ever been able to do in this life.
First things first tonight against LA, 7-1-3 night tonight. Should be a lot of fun. HoustonSabercats.com. Also, if you mention ESPN 20 when you check out at HoustonSabercats.com, 20% off all tickets throughout June. So you might want to make sure you do that. ESPN 20 checkout code, HoustonSabercats.com to get your tickets for June. What's it going to take down the stretch for the squad to position themselves in the best way to bring Houston a championship?
At the end of the day, I think it just takes sticking to our DNA. You see a lot of teams in the regular season produce a brand of rugby, and this goes for, I think, a lot of sports in this world where they play one way in the regular season and then come playoffs, they try to change the way that they approach the game. And all credit to Coach Hanneke Meyer, we play playoff rugby week in and week out. It's the same version, and I heard the commentators last week against NOLA saying it's a boring style of rugby, and it's not fun to watch. And at some times, yeah, it is boring, but we're winning games. We're really pressuring teams. We're limiting the amount of turnovers that we produce in a game. We're sticking to our DNA. We have a massive forward pack of Americans, South Africans, guys from New Zealand, UK, you name it. And they're so dominant. And so the big part of our game is being strong up front with the forwards. And we have these really evasive and dynamic backline players, which I'd like to say I'm one of those guys. So I think we complement each other super well. It's a dynamic team, but we understand the way of rugby and the brand of rugby that we want to play and play that every single game. And I think that's just given us reps and reps through the regular season. So when it comes time for the playoffs and the big games, we're not trying to change anything. We know the DNA of our team. We know our strengths, and we're just going to do everything in our power to stick to that.
I disagree with you a little bit. Winning is never boring, and you guys are doing it better than anybody else in the league. Christian, thanks so much for the time. Enjoyed the conversation. Best of luck tonight. Best of luck the rest of the year.
Thanks for having me.
Christian Dyer, wing for the first place Houston SaberCats. Third year with the club. More coming up next on ESPN 97.5, ESPN 92.5.
This is the Bullpen on ESPN 97.5 and 92.5. Live from the Veritex Community Bank Studios. Here are the producers of ESPN 97.5 and 92.5.
ESPN Radio 97.5, 92.5. Welcome back into the Bullpen. Big thanks to Jeremy Branham and Houston SaberCats wing player Christian Dyer for that conversation you heard prior. Now, before we get into Mount Rushmore +1 next segment, as I try to buy time for Sean, he's recuperating from his. I mean, honestly, it was a very impressive, super quick run you made to the Chipotle, but unfortunately, not enough time for you to finish it all.
No, couldn't finish the job, so to speak. But yeah, happy I got back.
I mean,
in time.
true gamers fight through it, Sean. And that's what you are.
And I am.
You're a professional and a gamer. So, kind of a new segment here. We did a little bit of this last week, but I think we're going to title it "Big Question." And so each week, one of us will have a big question for the other ones, and then we'll go, as long as we want to go into it. Might have another question after this. Maybe transition into some leftovers, some funny bits from the world of sports. But this week, this inaugural week, I will kick it off with my big question. So Johnny, weigh in on this as well. But Sean, our first big question: you get paired with 100 random people.
Okay.
If you're better than all those 100 people at something, you get $1 million. What are you choosing?
That's really hard.
So the first things that came to my mind, because I think the key to this,
question.
Hosting a radio show.
I don't think I would win that. I think I'd still be poor.
100 people?
What are the
odds?
It depends on the draw. Yeah, it really depends on the draw. But
most people can't do it.
no, that's true. Most people can't do it. But yeah, I think you have to pick something pretty niche, right? Like if you pick just something general like running fast, like okay, there's lots of people in the world that can run fast. But if you go with like maybe trivia from a very specific show, or like playing a very specific video game really well, something like that, I think you have more of a chance to get through. So like the first things that came to my mind were like maybe playing Madden, playing NCAA 14, trivia from like a couple of my favorite shows. I even was bold enough, and I don't think the Killer Bees, when I brought this up to them, believed me on it, but I even think I can make a breakfast taco. If I think I would.
Okay, that's ridiculous.
100 random people. It's 100 random people. How many people cook? I mean, at like, and not only cook
More than you think.
probably. But not only cook, but cook well and like to make breakfast tacos.
Well, do you cook
yes.
well?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, I do.
okay.
Yeah, I've had to get experience from it just for now about to be 14 years of being married, just for when the schedules worked out and I'd be the person at home, the
homemaker.
Kind of at times, yeah. Depending, like there was a time where my shift in radio was 4 a.m. to noon, and my wife's a teacher, so when I'm gonna have her to get home at 5 o'clock and start cooking, I know. If I was Granado, I would say yes, exactly. No, but no. So I have cooked a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. I still don't love your odds, but that's all right. We can breeze past it.
I was trying to buy you guys some time.
No.
Like, so 100 people, you get paired with 100 random people. You're better than all of them. You get $1 million. Johnny, Sean, what are you picking?
I'm trying to think of because the idea of like trivia from a movie or TV show.
It's got to be neat. I think it's got to be a small market, so to speak. It's got to be niche, not something that everyone loves. You couldn't say like Marvels, like vague overall Marvels. It's got to be very specific.
I mean, Fast and Furious.
Yes, see,
but it's not specific. But I still think I got most people.
I think you do.
I think I have.
Of everyone I know,
I think you could get most people on University of Texas trivia.
I don't think I could.
No, you don't think so?
Not even football?
No.
Football.
Because there's too many freaks out there. There's too many just like Stump the Schwab types.
R.I.P.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I feel like that's too big. It would have to be like, it'd have to be something. I'm trying to think of like TV shows that no one likes that I like, like or movies that no one likes that I'm like, that's a sick movie.
Johnny, you got anything?
I'll try to walk around this as best I can. Since I am a partaker in 420. I guess if you understand.
Wow.
I feel like if you picked 100 random people, I could probably outsmoke those 100 random people. That's my one thing.
Qualify for me, Johnny. Outsmoke.
Yeah.
Like
I don't know what that means.
Before you become like unfunctional, like what are we saying here?
Just the amount. I mean, like I could smoke more than everybody else.
Okay,
And
all
be
right.
okay.
Well, I guess that's exactly what it sounded like.
It's the only thing I can think of because I'm not a movie guy or trivia guy or
I
anything.
thought like maybe like knowing UFC fighters, like.
Oh no! I mean, I know them, but I'm still more of a casual than probably.
See, I took you as more of a
Although 100
more than a casual.
You're gonna get a lot of people that are like,
brawl,
I have no idea what that is.
That's true, but I'm confident in myself with that.
Yeah.
So.
All right, so I can make breakfast tacos.
Mm-hmm.
Johnny can
decided
smoke,
to choose a crime,
which I think fits well together. He gets the
that's
munchies.
true.
I cook him breakfast tacos. Sean, what do you bring to the table?
Yeah. I was too invested in that too.
Okay, so we get baked, we eat breakfast tacos, and then we do what, Sean? What plan out the rest of our day?
Plan out the rest of the day. Probably
Watch Fast and Furious. I think that's it. That's a pretty good day. Get baked, eat breakfast tacos, watch Fast and Furious.
Good day.
I was good at the NBA Street back in the day, but I haven't played in a while. But I would beat the tar out of my friends at it. I like when you're so much better at something than your friends, to where it's like I don't even want to do. Like this is not fun for me anymore. Like you're just
you were that much better than everyone else.
Just like not entertaining. One time I beat one of my friends legitimately 28 times in a row.
Wow. I got that,
and would just beat him every single, and just like I don't know what to tell you.
I think you found your answer.
That might be like NBA Street 2. I haven't played it since then. I haven't played it. I haven't played in 15 years. But yeah, okay.
Along those same lines, it's part of why I mentioned Madden as part of mine, because not with every friend. I had some friends that were pretty good at Madden. I'd still beat them. But I had a couple friends that weren't good, and I would put up 120 on them, like basically every game, just scoring, two plays every drive, and to the point where we would have these big Madden tournaments, and people would just be laughing in the corner, yelling, "Run up the score" every time I got the ball. So I think that would have to be a part of it. And if you have something that you think you'd win $1 million with if you were better than everyone else, text us. So HRP listener line 713-780-3776. We'll get those on the air.
Honestly, 100 people, like we're probably overthinking it, because now that I'm thinking, 100 people is not that many people.
It's not
really
many
not,
people.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's like I might be able to get them in a spelling bee if I get the right draw. If I get the right draw of 100 people, like you could, we might be overthinking this a little bit.
From 3338, he's doing LARP sword fighting. Which nerd alert, but shout out to you to be able to willing to admit
That's
it to
niche
us.
enough.
This
is
is a legitimate question. How is that different than regular sword fighting?
Like
what's the competition?
The intent to kill, I guess, because you're not trying to actually kill somebody with LARP. It's role playing. It's fantasy. You're not actually trying to injure them like real sword fighting. You're trying to injure.
one is competitive. And one is like more for entertainment.
But how are you better at the one that's not competitive?
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Like how do you win?
How do you determine who's better if
That's true.
If it's everything? Okay, Sean, you've stumbled. I don't have an answer for that.
I mean, it's a little bit like John's, where I'm like, I still don't really understand how that's competitive, but okay.
3338 is also challenging me on cooking, so apparently we might have to have a cook.
Well,
and I specifically said, like, look again, you can't be broad in general. It's got to be niche. It's got to be specific. Yeah, breakfast tacos. That's it. I make that like 3 times a week. I make it all the time. I could do it. Again, as you said, Sean, we were overthinking it. It's 100 random people anywhere in the world.
Yeah, you have to think that like 40 of them don't know how to like make eggs. Like
right? Exactly. You're starting with at least half of them wiped out completely.
Yeah. So that's
at least
that's where like video games. It's like, well, there's gonna be a percentage of people who just never played a video game.
Yeah.
like they
Speaking of,
you hand them the controller, they don't know what they're doing.
Speaking of which, from 8596, I would beat Mike Tyson on Mike Tyson's Punch Out more than 100 random people. Now, I'm guessing you never played Mike Tyson's Punch Out. That was way before your time. Yeah.
Good guess.
I'm assuming you also never played Super Punch Out. But what video game, what was the video game you said you're most confident in? Was NBA Street? You have any other ones you think you'd be?
I mean,
I think NBA Jam back in the day, I would put myself in with the possibility of beating 100 random people.
There's some where it's like at my prime. You know?
Yeah,
Like at my prime, MLB The Show 2020.
Sure.
coincidentally enough, the one that came out like right before the world shut down. Believe it or not, I got really good at that video game when I didn't have a job. Although maybe I would argue that was my job at that point.
Yeah, yeah.
And so yeah, if you could take like May of 2020, Sean Mapes, and just pluck him and
A moment in time.
just put 100 people against that guy, you could probably win. But yeah, it'd be stuff like that. Again, like the NCAA video game. Again, you're talking.
Man, I played so many hours.
Yeah,
of
you're talking.
NCAA 14.
And you're talking about like, yeah, when I was in high school and the game would come out in July, and so I'd just play
Nothing to
it with
do.
no responsibility for 2.5 months.
Yeah.
like
I had some.
okay,
I had
probably
some
good at it.
responsibility at that time, but not a lot. I mean, to be honest, I worked in radio and I was done at noon every day, and I go home and play NCAA for like 5 hours
And then
until my
cook-
wife
and then
got
cook
home.
breakfast
and then
tacos.
cook breakfast tacos. Yeah,
That's
exactly.
your 10,000 hours.
So we got a follow up on LARP sword fighting from
Oh,
3338.
good. I legitimately just want to know the answer.
He says the difference is padded swords versus live steel.
Okay.
That still doesn't really answer the question to me, because I get the difference, because it kind of goes to what I was saying, like the intent to harm or not harm, actual steel swords or padded, but still, to Sean's point, like how are you determining who's better in the LARP sword fighting situation? Is it just technique?
Probably technique.
Is it just like the execution of like I don't know what would a sword move be?
parry?
A parry, yes.
Well, I'm guessing
Look
it's
at that.
like when you played baseball when you were a kid and you had a runner on second base. The runner wasn't actually there, but you acknowledged it. I'm guessing that the LARPing is like, I've stabbed you, now you're dead. Acknowledge
yield.
it.
I
So
yield.
okay,
So you
you're
can have a
laying- you're
winner.
laying in contact with the
Yeah,
person.
I'm guessing that's
Like
what
points.
it is.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you're still treating it like it's real, except for you don't, impale somebody. I guess. I assume. Yeah, I guess that would
Trying
be
to
how
think,
you.
is there some sort of competitive eating I could do against
Yeah,
100 people?
yeah.
Oh.
Like, okay, let's transition to that.
You better hope I'm not in those 100 people. Sean.
That's the tough part. Is that one is more dependent on the draw.
I've actually been in a competitive eating competition.
Oh,
And
didn't know we had an expert in the field. Right
well, it was at a different radio station. I've worked at every radio station in the city, but it was at
here. Every single one in the city.
well, the big three groups,
sports
the big
radio.
three groups. Yeah. So I was at the current time. I was at the one that's now the flagship for the Astros, and Nico's had they want us to do like a Euro eating contest. But so I went into it, I was like, hell yeah, I want to like Euros, and sure, I'm getting free Euros. Why not? But so I'm sitting at the table. There's like 6 or 7 of us. There's some names in there that you would know, like Charlie Palillo was there.
Oh, name drop.
Yeah, I know, big time celebrity over here.
Whoa.
But
There's some names you'd know.
Yeah, just names you know, like
Charlie Palillo.
future presidents were there, doctors, lawyers,
Hakeem
great
Olajuwon.
humanitarians across the world.
Then Mayor Sylvester Turner.
Yeah, exactly. So me, future presidents, and Charlie Palillo were in this Euro eating contest. But as I'm sitting down, I'm not a small guy, but then I was probably even a little bit larger, and I hear someone like off in the background kind of snickers, that guy's gonna win, and I'm like, you mother. And so I intentionally, just to not give, I didn't want to give the people coming to the zoo to see the free show of the lion like just destroying something. I didn't want to give them the show they thought they were getting.
So you protested?
Well, in so much as I ate the Euros just casually and slow. And so I didn't actually competitive eat. I just ate.
Did you
I just ate my lunch basically.
Did you beat Charlie Pillow?
No, Charlie Palillo ate more Euros than me. I
That's
think I would have out-eaten him if I tried, but I was fat
Who could
shamed
tell?
by
Who
a
could
random
Now,
person.
there's $1 million on the line. What, in this scenario?
Yeah, I mean, no. In the Euro eating contest.
No,
there was-
in the hypothetical.
Yeah, in the hypothetical. So what? Before we
So
go to break.
all one of the 99 people had to go was like, this isn't fair. We got to go up against Brian. And then you're like, you know what? Never mind.
But they didn't know.
My honor is worth more than winning.
They didn't know I had placed a bet on my bookie on them, and so I was throwing the match.
What?
Shout out to a random sponsor.
Jonte McDonald's?
Banned. You're banned.
Oh my God.
So what food are you picking? Like before we go to break, before we get to Mount
Cinnamon
Rushmore
rolls.
+1. Cinnamon, man, that's so much sweet though. I don't know if I can
And
do
I-
something sweet.
but other people have to deal with it too.
Oh, okay.
It's
so you
more-
think you're more equipped to deal with
Yeah,
the
it's more
sweet.
the comparative, because yes, everyone has that reaction of
Yeah.
like, I don't know.
That's so much sweet. Yeah.
Not for me.
Not
Built
for me.
different.
Not for me.
I'm built different.
Built different. I think I would go with kolaches.
That's another good one.
Yeah, because I mean, I mean, similar to hot dogs in that, I think it's easy to eat them quickly, and I just freaking love kolaches. They're amazing.
Oh, actually, just like regular plain glazed donuts also.
Oh man,
because you can
the sugar and it gets all over.
No, but I can accidentally eat 6 of them.
You know what? The good thing about
I can just passively just be like, oh, I've had way too many of these.
And the good thing about donuts is, especially the glazed ones, I mean, you can kind of 2-bite those if you really want to.
Crush them a little
just
bit.
kind of, ball them up a little bit and throw them.
It's kind of a tough one because you could mash them together and put 6 and eat them at the same time.
Oh, easily.
Yeah.
Easily.
That's how I win.
So, Belmer, before we go to break, if you had to competitive eat, what's your food?
I think I'm gonna. I was trying to come up with some other answer, but I really like kolaches, and so I'm going to side with you on that.
All right.
Kolaches.
So, I mean, if we're,
I don't want to do the too sweet. Cinnamon rolls is too sweet.
Yeah, it's too sweet, Sean.
That's how I'm gonna win. It's because everyone goes
too sweet.
Everyone goes too sweet, and I'm like, okay, I can. You're gonna bow out. I'm gonna win.
Sean has found a weak spot in the market. He is now exploiting it to be a millionaire.
It doesn't have to be what I'm the best at. It's what I'm better than you at.
Yeah, that's right. Sean has outthought us. All right, we got to get out so we have time for Mount Rushmore plus one on the other side of the break. ESPN Radio 97.5 and 92.5. ESPN Radio 97.5 and 92.5. Welcome into the best part of your weekend, Houston. It is time for Mount Rushmore plus one. If you want to join in on the conversation, what we were talking about last segment, or maybe even, we've never asked the listeners to give us their own random Mount Rushmore plus one. But hell, let's call an audible. If you've got one, send us a text on the text line, HRP listener line, 713-780-3776. So our Mount Rushmore plus ones, anyone want to go first? I think I went first last time I volunteered. Main event Mapes is obviously the main event. So
I don't have to be.
I mean, your main event makes. I mean, you kind of have to.
I mean,
it's in the name.
You could be main event McDonald's.
Oh, that's true. That also works. All right, that's fair. All right, screw it. I'll go last. Sean, you want to lead us off?
Yeah. Okay. I'll do that. My Mount Rushmore +1.
Of your Chipotle orders?
No. Of revenge.
Oh, revenge.
Yes.
Who doesn't love revenge?
Well, it's no one doesn't love revenge. Yes.
Yes.
Everyone loves
yes,
revenge.
Everyone loves revenge.
Double negatives.
That'd been the easier way to say it. Yes.
This is in honor of Kristaps Porzingis in the balling out in the finals. So he is the first member is game 1 of the NBA Finals. Kristaps Porzingis, more or less single-handedly winning the game with the
he's
run.
Played for a lot of teams, so he can have revenge on a lot of. It kind of waters out the revenge when you play like
but
half
to do
the
it,
league.
but then to do it in the finals.
NBA finals, yeah. Good point. Good point.
That's the difference. It's the stage in which you can do it. Everyone is ready for Kyrie Irving to have revenge against the Boston Celtics, or the Boston Celtics to get revenge against Kyrie Irving. But Kristaps drew first blood here.
Yeah.
He got his revenge first. Second on the Mount Rushmore +1 of revenge, the 2004 Red Sox.
Yeah. Coming back from down 0-3.
Also losing in Game 7 in 2003 with the Aaron Boone home run. I don't know if you are aware of what happened.
I watched it live. Okay. Yes, I saw it. Aaron Bleep.
I saw the documentary.
Yeah.
So 04 Red Sox. Number 3 on this list. We go outside the world of sports.
Okay.
John Wick getting revenge on the Russian mafia.
Oh, for killing his dog and taking his car. Yes. I mean, not that we ever actually put them in a specific order, but that should be number 1, man. That was great revenge.
It was very good revenge. It was at least 4 movies worth of revenge. At some point, you saw
and a miniseries on Peacock.
And a miniseries on Peacock. Who could forget the miniseries on Peacock?
A lot of people did, I think.
What?
I think a lot of people did.
I did. When I said 4 movies worth, I didn't. It was news to me.
That wasn't an accident.
Next up, the 47 Ronin. Have you heard about this one?
Wait, is that the basis for the movie that with why am I forgetting his name?
Keanu Reeves?
No, I guess I'm thinking of something else. I thought there was a movie with Ronin with oh my God, why am I forgetting his name? Godfather. It doesn't matter. Keep going. It'll come to me. It's a super famous name that everyone knows, and for some reason I'm drawing a freaking blank. Luckily, I have an IMDb app on my phone, and I will find this after Sean, I think.
Marlon Brando?
No, Robert De Niro. There it is. There's a movie called Ronin, I believe, with Robert De Niro. As I'm trying to look it up here.
Okay, so the 47
yes,
Ronin.
There is. Yes, there is a movie.
Okay.
Yeah, 1998.
It's a historical event that centers around a group of samurai, 47 of them, who left leaderless after the feudal lord was compelled to commit seppuku for assaulting a court official. And what happened was they then waited for a year and planned for a year, the 47 of them, to then avenge their master's honor by killing the court official that he assaulted.
Wow, that's I mean, that's impressive.
They then had to commit seppuku for murder.
Right. I mean, there's not only the impressive the patience and the planning, but I mean, it says a lot for the master that, because most of the time you're like, oh, the master's gone, F that guy. But they actually liked him enough to carry out this year-long plan to avenge him. So
yep. And last one, Lorena Bobbitt for cutting off her husband's penis.
Come on, man. I didn't know you knew about that, because I'm pretty sure that happened before you were born.
There's a great documentary on it, B-Mac.
Was there? Okay, that's probably that. Yeah, Sean's acknowledging that's how he knows about it. There it is. So I was about to say, there's no way you know about that on your own. Okay, I did not expect you to hear about choppy pee-pee today.
Talk about revenge.
Yeah, so I'm not going to follow that. Johnny Belmer's going to follow that. John Belmer,
thank you.
What is your Mount Rushmore +1 this week?
I don't know how I'm going to follow that.
Choppy pee-pee.
Choppy.
Are any are any parts of the male anatomy going to be harmed in the making of this Mount Rushmore +1?
No,
We need
unfortunately.
that lower third.
Unfortunately, fortunately not.
A bit of a rough week as far as inspiration goes for Mount Rushmore +1 for me. But I seen this story here. The MLB is feeding London baseball fans really well. Apparently, they over there they are serving a 2-foot hot dog and a 2-foot nachos.
2-foot nachos.
Yeah,
Okay.
I guess diameter.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm game. I don't know exactly what it'll be, but I'm game. I'll find out.
So I decided I would make my Mount Rushmore +1 of ball game foods that I would like to see served in 2-foot form.
See, that's a good list, Johnny.
2-foot
You
increments.
were down yourself. That's a good
All
list.
right.
I'm intrigued.
My
Please
first
continue.
one is a little contradictory to what we just said in the last segment about being too sweet, but I'm going to go with a 2-foot long ice cream helmet. is number one.
Yes. Please make that happen.
I didn't-
Big part. Please make
Well,
that happen.
so regulation, it's what, like 8 inches, probably.
Like 6 to 8 inches across. Yeah.
Maybe not even. Probably it's smaller than that.
Well, they have the small ice cream helmets, but I think they have larger.
Oh, they do have bigger,
Like the
yeah,
ones
ice
that
cream helmets.
you can
He's-
then
I think Sean's
put on
talking
your
about
head.
like a real baseball helmet.
that you can then put on your head. Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably like 6 to 8 inches.
Just make it
across.
2 feet deep and then
Oh,
fill it full of ice
Oh
cream.
my
There you go.
God. Like a 10-gallon
So like
hat, but
Doug
it's ice cream.
Dimmadome.
I'm
Home of
already
the
on board
Dimsdale
with this.
Dimmadome?
What else you got, Johnny?
Sean and your references. Next, I have a 2-foot long pizza on the list
I
here.
think Pizza Hut has done that.
Have they?
Maybe. I'm on board with
two,
it though.
2 feet. That's
I mean, that's
They've
yeah.
done some. I don't know. I
is
think
that like the shakaroni?
no. Maybe I'm thinking of.
That's with it totally. I think that's with like Papa John's.
Yeah.
No, there was something, and I'm gonna have to age myself to find it, but I believe like Little Caesars or not Papa John's, but or Pizza Hut or something back in the '90s had like a huge like 2-foot long. Anyway, I'll look it up later.
Okay.
But I'm on board. Yes, 2
Okay.
feet of pizza. Yes, sign me up.
This one here is not a food item. It's a liquid, but a 2-foot long can of beer. I would like to
All right, Stone Cold.
have that version. Then number 2.
I couldn't do that.
Do you need a straw?
You're not. Can you imagine someone just casually like
Pantomime
sitting
it
back
for
like
me?
just casually drinking a 2-foot?
It's not that heavy. You just put 2 hands on it.
No,
There you go.
it's
Sean
not
just
the
did
weight.
it.
It's what Sean. Yeah, you'd have to like
Being experienced.
you can't like casually lift up with one hand a 2-foot cylinder.
And you get to go, no, officer, I only had 1 beer.
Yeah. Okay.
There you go.
Yeah.
Number
And then he's
2.
gonna give you 2 foot to walk
Yeah.
in that sobriety test.
That's
Yeah.
true. Number 2, I put a 2-foot long birria taco,
Nice.
which I think would be good.
Make
and
that
then,
happen, Kobos.
Yeah, absolutely. That was my first thought when I was putting it on here. And last but not least, I put a one of my favorites here because I'm a child, a 2-foot long chicken tender.
Oh, see, your list was good, and then you went chicken tender.
That seems
Yeah,
that seems
you
against
lost me.
that seems against God.
Yeah.
Because how do you get a chicken that big?
Yeah,
That's-
yeah. You mashing like 5 chickens together. What's
Yeah, it's going to
happening?
have to be like
What
5
witchcraft
chickens.
are you
It's an
performing to get this
abomination.
chicken tender? Oh man, I was with you, Johnny. And then you, man,
I mean, it's probably
2-foot
good.
chicken
Yeah.
tender.
I'm
Good thing
with
it's
you.
my
I mean,
list.
I'd eat it, but
I was thinking 2 feet of cotton candy.
Ooh,
Yeah.
that's another good one here.
no, I'd be out on that. That's
Too sweet.
I don't even like cotton candy. No, yeah, too sweet, too sweet. All right, I'll finish up here with my Mount Rushmore +1. So a little peek behind the scenes. Sean and I were emailed by someone at our station and asked to fill out, give them some information because we might potentially get, some endorsements, some sponsorships because Mount Rushmore +1 is intriguing to advertisers and they want it on board.
So we're having to turn a lot of people down who want to sully this.
It's a lot of work actually.
We don't want to sell the honor of Mount Rushmore +1
We will not
unless it's for the right price.
Yeah, I mean Mount Rushmore +1 presented by Minute Maid. I think I could do that for the right price.
Yeah.
We'll see how
we don't
it
want
goes.
to have an Enron Field fiasco.
We would not solely the name of Mount Rushmore +1 with Enron. No, we would not. So my Mount Rushmore +1 is, if our sales teams come through and give me a sponsorship, things I'd like to endorse.
Okay.
Things I would like to endorse. Just, hey, sales team, if you're listening, these are things me, Brian McDonald, would be willing to endorse here on the Bullpen every Saturday. Not all these are actual physical items. Some of these are ideas. I don't know how they can monetize it, but they're talented salespeople. They can make it work. So my first thing I'd like to endorse is breakfast for dinner. I love breakfast for dinner. Is there a bad time of day for bacon and eggs? Like, I could eat a bacon, egg, and cheese sandwich any time of day. I can eat breakfast tacos, obviously, because I'm a great cook, any time of day.
Obviously.
So I would like to endorse breakfast for dinner. Next one on my list of thing. What, you got to retort?
Just
You don't like the breakfast for dinner?
coming up next, we have Mount Rushmore +1. But before that, let me tell you about my friends over at Breakfast for Dinner. I
was trying to go. I didn't want to just like list off like Nikes and Microsoft so I could get a free Xbox. I thought that'd be boring. So I was trying to. You're killing my creative process, Sean.
How'd you like brunch?
I'd be fine with that.
Okay, but breakfast.
It's a little bougie, but I'd be fine with it.
Okay, but you prefer breakfast.
I'd prefer breakfast for dinner. Yeah, I'd prefer
breakfast. Breakfast. Yuck.
Overrated. That's old. That's old and busted.
Who's up?
Give me the new hotness.
Yeah.
All right. So number 4 on my Mount Rushmore +1 of things I would endorse: seeing movies on weekday mornings. I love. Like I recently saw the new Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. I think it was this last Thursday. They had like a 10 a.m. showing at the theater near me, and I had a window where I had a babysitter. I was like, hell yeah, I'm gonna go see that. No one else in the movie theater with me. I love going to see. I still love the movie experience, but I don't like people. So when I could go like on a Thursday morning and there's like one person in there, or maybe like sometimes even no people in there, like this giant theater, one person, absolutely love it.
Okay. I've only been to. I don't think I've ever been to a movie showing before like maybe 2 p.m. 2 p.m. might be the earliest.
Can I age myself even more if I haven't already?
What?
I've actually gone to a movie at 8 a.m.
What movie was it?
It was the Endgame.
Casablanca?
No, it was Endgame.
Oh,
because they were trying to get in as many
Did you not hear the movie I said?
No, what'd you say?
I said Casablanca.
Oh, you son of, I'm moving on. Number 3 on my list, Sean's dead to me. But what's not dead to me, and I'd be willing to endorse it, not watching anything live. Like I've been completely spoiled by. I mean, I don't even hesitate to even call it a DVR at this point. But I mean, Texans games I'll watch live. Astros playoff games I'll watch live. But basically everything else, like, I'll catch it later.
Sports is it, right? That's all.
Pretty much it. Yeah. And that's even hit or miss. Like Longhorn football games, Texans games, and like Astros playoff games. I'll make a point to watch those live. Like everything else, I'll watch it later.
There has been times though when you record where you get to a game late, so you can fast forward through the commercials.
Right.
So he does like fast forwarding through the commercials.
Yeah,
maybe
but that's just smart.
Yeah, that's kind of the point. And I mean, especially when you have a wife and kids, it makes it even harder. It makes it even more feasible. But yeah, the only problem you run into is some DVRs are better than the others. Like some will just extend the time for whatever the run length is of the game. Some, though, you have to set recordings for like 6 shows after it, because especially when the Longhorns were in the Big 12 and they were playing 5-hour games, that could be a little bit tough. Number 2 more here on my Mount Rushmore +1 of things I'd be willing to endorse: 4-day work weeks. I don't know if they would allow that here at working in the sports radio field, but I love the idea of 4 10-hour days versus 5 8-hour days and give me a 3-day weekend.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm all in on that one.
You already work half the shows that it is. You're pretty close to working 10 hours a day as it is, Sean. So you might as well go for it.
Halfway there.
Yeah, halfway there. Easy. Yeah. And number 1, I said I wasn't going to do anything physical, but I will for one, because it's downstairs in this building and I absolutely love it. Please, sales staff, if you're listening, give me a endorsement, a sponsorship from Burger Chan.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so shout out to Burger Chan. Really good burgers. All right, one more segment left for this show this week. When we get back, the things we love from sports this week and the worst people in sports this week on ESPN Radio 97.5 and 92.5.
This is the Bullpen on ESPN 97.5 and 92.5. Live from the Veritex Community Bank Studios. Here are the producers of ESPN 97.5 and 92.5.
ESPN Radio 97.5 and 92.5. Welcome back in. Last segment of the show today. Before we get into our worst and our loves for this week, a correction for Johnny Belmer from 3527 on the text line. Johnny, 2-Fit beer, it's called a keg.
It's a good point.
I was picturing a beer can that's literally just stretched out to 2 feet.
Like
that's what I was thinking
tall
too.
boy
Yeah.
on steroids?
Yes,
Tall
a
boy on
very
steroids.
tall
There you
boy.
go.
Yeah.
All right. So, all right. We did actually get a Mount Rush. I'll just read through it quickly. We don't have to spend a lot of time. We actually did get a Mount Rushmore +1 submission from the text line from 0614. This will make us feel good. Mount Rushmore of Houston sports helpers, the Cleveland Browns, the Brooklyn Nets, the Carolina Panthers, and the Dodgers for sending us Jordan.
Oh.
Yeah, I feel pretty good
list.
about that.
Yeah.
Thank you to all those teams for, in some cases, taking on our trash, in other cases, not taking the quarterback that we wanted. And then also, Dodgers for sending us Jordan. Thank you for that. All right, so worst person in sports this week, Sean, is?
Anyone who buys the split Aaron Judge, Shohei Ohtani cap that they're selling at Yankee Stadium this weekend with the Yankees and Dodgers in town.
I haven't seen this. Let me pull this up.
I linked it in the
I'm
rundown.
pulling it up now.
And
Oh,
it
my
is,
God. Who would buy this?
It is literally a cap that it's on the front panel of the cap. It has Judge 99 and Ohtani 17 on right next to each other.
Most likely to wear at the station? Paul Gallant. He has no problem splitting.
Not with these specific guys.
Yeah, not with these two specific guys.
This is just as bad as the Astros Cowboys split hats, right?
Yeah. Well, yes, that would be that.
This is
really
arguably worse. Honestly, that's like a Patriots Cowboys split.
I don't want to hang
out
with
the. It's because this isn't a rivalry. It's Dodgers Yankees, so you're only getting it because it's like it's Dodgers
You're just
Yankees.
telling the world that you're the biggest bandwagon fan in the world. Just like, who do I like? The best players. That's who I like. And it's just lame. All right, my worst person in sports this week, a Golf Channel reporter named Lauren Withrow, who apparently in this clip you're about to hear doesn't exactly know who Vince Young is.
Played 6 seasons in the NFL, arguably one of the best NCAA quarterbacks of all time at Texas. Picked up golf about 4 years ago. What's the biggest shift you make going from the ultimate team sport to now the ultimate individual sport?
Now, I apologize. You have the wrong person. I'm Everett Sands over City, which I'm a football coach. But the thing is, the great thing about golf is I'm not only competing against myself, but I'm competing against everybody else.
Oh, Lauren Withrow.
Brutal.
And I cut this part of that out of the clip to make it a little bit shorter, but she apparently saw what she thought was Vince Young, not Vince Young, and told this to the production crew because they the actual play-by-play guy tosses it down. It's like, hey, I hear Lauren Withrow right now has found Vince Young out on the golf course. Lauren, take it away. How's Vince Young doing? And it's not Vince Young. It's some guy. I haven't even heard of him. What was his name? It's the Citadel assistant coach, Everett Sands. So, yeah.
He ended up being able to get a picture of Everett Sands with Vince Young.
Really? Oh. Was he at the same golf tournament?
Yeah,
okay.
They're at the same golf tournament. She just didn't. I mean, you can see in the picture.
Yeah, they don't look alike.
They don't look alike, and one
has facial hair. It's pretty.
One's also 6'5".
Right. They're wearing different colored shirts. There's lots of ways you could have told them apart, but apparently not Lauren Withrow. Couldn't tell them apart. All right. We are done with the Anger Shark. Let's try to quickly get into the things we love this week as we backstroke over to the Sea of Tranquility. Sean, what did you love from sports this week?
Team USA, specifically the cricket version of Team USA. Pulling off the biggest upset in that sport's history when they knocked off Pakistan in the, I think it's called T20 Super. I don't know.
I can tell you're super invested.
A stunner at the ICC Men's T20 Cricket, and it's been called the biggest upset in cricket history and one of the biggest.
The miracle on grass.
Yeah.
What do they play cricket
The-
on? They
the-
play cricket on grass? I don't know.
Yeah.
Isn't that like
Cricket-
a mixture of grass and dirt, I think?
Maybe
yeah,
turf.
maybe crickets jump on grass. And different thing.
Cricket.
All right. Thing I love from sports this week as we run into our last minute here. I'll get quickly to this audio here, Johnny. Apparently, Shaq has approved of Dirk Nowitzki's taste in women and does a German impression that is just spot on.
Shaq, you first. When you heard that Dirk's wife was black, did that change your perspective on him? And I'm curious, Dirk, how did the rest of the team treat you? Because I feel like people treat you completely different when they find that information out.
I found out accidentally, and I don't know if Dirk knows this, but we all leave the same way. So one day it was this gorgeous person standing back there, and I was like, oh, it's like, that's Dirk's wife. I was like, oh, okay, my bad. But after that, I knew that he was down. I knew that he liked the chocolate. I knew that he likes the chocolate bars. Yes, I knew that it was good.
Shaq's German accent is the best thing I've heard in a long time. I want Shaq now to do forever. Whenever there's a movie with like people speaking with a German accent and it's like dubbed over, it needs to be Shaq doing the dubs. Yeah. All right, that'll do it for the Bullpen. We'll be back next week. ESPN Radio 97.5 and 92.5 for Sean Mapes. For John Belmer, I'm Brian McDonald. Thank you, Houston. Be back next week.